Okay, here we go. We are in fact live. Let's just maximize this so we can see a bit better on screen. And hopefully, for once in my life, when I do this stream, you can actually hear me straight off the bat. That'd be amazing. I did actually check my mic settings before I started as well, so I'm hoping that I haven't done anything stupid and you can hear me. If you could let me know in the chat, that'd be wonderful. How many have we got people in here? We've only got 12 people in here. It's only a small stream at the moment, but that's fine. We'll give it a few seconds to see if people are in the chat. I can see Drizzy there. Welcome. Yeah, where my mind is at the moment. I always start these deadline streams. Just trying to summarize where I'm at the moment. And where I'm at the moment, frustratingly, is a little bit all over the place. I think what my heart is telling me to do, kind of, is just kind of sit tight. Sorry, just distracted by something on my YouTube stream thingy. I think it's okay though. Yeah, I think where what my heart is kind of leaning towards, where I was at, or should have been at in the last race, is to kind of sit with a team like this, which is what I've discussed in my team selection video, in my final thoughts video. Hello Michael, hello Caesar, and this is kind of what I want to do. This is the team I kind of want to go with. And obviously everything's been thrown up in the air because the Sims have come out and Red Bull and Max are like super hot. In fact, we can throw it over there now. This is the Sims for my team. I've selected my team 1 here, which you can see on screen there. And it's heavily recommended, to the point where I take a -10. Hey Fanamp, thank you for the luck. I might need it. Yeah, the Sims are recommending I take a -10 to get Verstappen and Red Bull. Are just piling on Red Bull and Verstappen. I guess the Sims assume that Perez is going to do well, and I haven't muted my phone. Sorry, let's just put that on Do Not Disturb. Not the most professional thing in the world, is it? Right. Where was I? Yeah. So I think the Sims think that Perez is going to be decent, and he should be decent, and therefore the Red Bull constructor is going to look stronger. I don't know. Let's see if we scroll down. How much is Perez predicted? Roughly 19-20 points. So yeah, about the same as what the Mercedes and the Ferraris are liable to bring in. So it thinks that as long as Perez basically doesn't DNF, the Red Bull is going to storm away with pit stop points, overtake, positions gained. And even if Perez messes up qualifying like he often does, that also gives him more opportunities for more overtakes and positions gained. So the Sims really love Red Bull. I've been pretty much off Red Bull and Verstappen the entire week so far, but now the Sims have come out and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. So I'll have to have a think. I'm just gonna have a quick look in the chat to see what's happening. No love for Ham in the wet. I think just Mercedes in general just look kind of off it. They were off the pace a little bit, weren't they? Let me just see if I've still got my FP1, FP2 stuff from yesterday. So in FP1 they were about second off Max Verstappen's time. And FP2 just really lagging behind a little bit. I mean, I know the Mercedes are going to be definitely stronger come the wet conditions, cooler conditions. It should hopefully favour them. They've also stripped back their supposed upgrade that they had this weekend, from what I understand. So they're kind of reverted back to what they were in Hungary, where they were pretty strong, and obviously strong around Silverstone before that. So maybe the Mercedes will actually be stronger than what the Sims are giving it credit for, and we should maybe stick to a more Mercedes kind of team. And going forward, I think the Mercedes still offer value. And we've got to remember what's important is this isn't the last race of the season. Spa is not the last race of the season. Yes, there's a summer break, but we've got Zandvoort coming up in like a month's time. And I still think that going Zandvoort and forward, bit of a mouthful to say, Mercedes can still offer us good value, and we shouldn't necessarily just go crazy for our teams in terms of packing in the Red Bulls, unless potentially you've got a wild card in your pocket and you want to just go in on Verstappen and Red Bull this week, and then maybe wild card into a more balanced team in Zandvoort. For me personally, I think I don't know. For me personally, I think I don't know. I think I'm more leaning towards just kind of playing it fairly boring and not going in with any Red Bull assets. I have heavily considered it. Another thing I can do if we just flick it back to, I will catch up with the chat in just 2 secs, bear with me guys. Another thing that I've considered is, what is it? I've literally forgotten what I considered. Oh, it was getting rid of these two basically, wasn't it? Max Verstappen, and then bringing in Sonoda like this. So I avoid having to worry about Perez's performance whatsoever. Just keep with this base of constructors that I kind of want going forward through Zandvoort, etc. I get Tsunoda, who starts at the back of the grid, and I just put the 2 times on Verstappen, who I assume is going to score 40 plus points. I don't know. This is another option, but then you don't have Piastri then, who I think is liable to win the race or come second most likely, and potentially go up 1 million. You've got Lando Norris, again, driver of the day potential, winning the race potential. Neither of them are in your team going forward. For me, he doesn't have a wild card left. Going with a team that looks like this, it looks pretty decent, I would say, for this given week. In fact, I could even do the -10 and just shove Red Bull in there and kind of be happy with it, like this. And that's kind of what the Sims are telling me to do. They say take the -10, put in all the Red Bull you can, basically, and Tsunoda, who's starting at the back, and just worry about Zandvoort when it comes around. But I'm still not sold on the idea. I don't know. The Sims are normally like quite good. It's tough to disagree with them too strongly. Let's just see what the chat's saying. Right, what's everyone saying? So Michael's saying, can we discuss Piastri to Verstappen with final fix? I haven't even considered that, to be honest, Michael. So you make it sound like it's a big thing, and I've just been completely off it. But there we go. Let's have a look. So what are we thinking then? Piastri to Verstappen with final fix. So you'll have Piastri one and open up. What would be the point? Why not just have Verstappen in your team? I don't know if I'm missing something, but why if you're planning to final fix Piastri to Verstappen, why not just have Verstappen in the first place? Or are you thinking of budget gain? Are you thinking of hoping to get Piastri's budget, get his qualifying points, and then final fix to Verstappen, but then you need to leave budget on the table for that? I'm not entirely sure what you mean, to be honest. There we go. You are thinking about budget gain. Yeah. I'm not sure it's entirely worth it using the final fix to potentially gain budget. At the end of the day, Piastri might only get like a 0.3 rise, and Verstappen could get like a 0.2 if he does as well as the Sims are suggesting. So you're using your final fix to make 0.1 million, I guess. I'm not feeling it, Michael, to be honest, unless I'm missing something. If you can expand on it. Right, the chat's starting to pick up a bit. Let me see what's going on. As always, I must remember to actually keep an eye on the time, because I don't know, we've got 52 minutes as of the time of this, 51 minutes now. I need to actually think about locking in my team, because the final 20 minutes for me always gets stressful, and it's also pretty tricky when you're streaming, talking to lots of people, to actually focus in and come to a decision that you're happy with, and I want to make sure I get to that at some point. But let's have a look at the chat first. So Drizzy says, Sims are making massive assumptions about Perez and are terrible for budget. No way. Okay, I like it. I like I wish I had the decisiveness of some of my subscribers, honestly. Some of the comments and the chat and stuff is just like, no way, 100% doing this. Meanwhile, I'm just like, well, I like the look of this, or I'm tempted by this, and it's like, it's very hard for me to make that final decision. There's so much information, and pinning it down and getting the right decision is one of the toughest things in terms of being a fantasy manager, in my opinion. Let's just flick it back to my kind of original team at the moment, so we can see where I'm at and where I'm going. I imagine lots of teams are looking pretty similar to this at the moment. Very interesting to know what all you guys are thinking of. I don't understand. Caesar says, I don't understand the Tsunoda love. Starting at the back, the RBs don't look good. Yeah, I mean, the Sims look pretty bad. The F1 Sims certainly look bad for the race pace. They didn't look particularly good in practice sessions, which opens up another opportunity as well. If you agreement with that, the RBs are so bad that you don't really care about Tsunoda starting at the back, then maybe we just ditch off all these assets here, and then we just put in like a Piastri and go to the very bottom of the ladder with Sargent, Zhou, Bottas, just propping up the triple Mercedes. And I thought about this quite a lot. It was almost like an afterthought, which seems a bit silly because McLaren's like the best team at the moment, and they keep getting driver of the day, etc., etc. But it's almost like an afterthought that I can do this, mainly because the C-tier drivers are so bad in this team. It really puts me off, but it makes me think back to earlier on in the season when we had the people that could afford the Red Bull, Ferrari, Verstappen build with all the rubbish C-tier, and people were going for that, even with the terrible C-tier, and they were just scoring big points from it. And the other people that, like myself included, faffing around, trying to build budget and worrying about this and that, ended up just basically losing out. And I'm not saying like history is going to necessarily repeat itself this way, but the fact that the McLarens are just really good, like really good, and we can get all three of them in our team, maybe we are overcomplicating things. And yeah, I know there'll be people with different budgets, and I think not everyone can actually necessarily afford this. I've got 119 million, so I think, you know, unless you've got 118.3, I guess you can't afford this exact build. So maybe you could drop the McLarens down to the Ferraris, who also look quite good this weekend, and maybe also good for budget. And have a look at what looks like that, and then you could even potentially upgrade someone like a Bottas. That gets you to your Sonoda or your Hulkenberg or whoever you want in that slot. So if you've got slightly less budget, then something like this could certainly be reasonable. I don't know. I do think that maybe the triple McLaren hasn't quite had enough attention, and on a week where the Mercedes aren't looking particularly strong, maybe we should just kind of neglect them apart from the constructor and just kind of go in. The triple C tier looks rough, it does, but who knows what the hell is going to happen in rain. The worst case scenario if you went for this team is that like Sargent, Zhou and Bottas like luck their way through the rain and get into like Q3 or whatever, get like a point, fantastic, but then they like drop 10 places in the race. That'd be a disaster. So hopefully if I was to go over a team like this, or any of you are going to go over a team like this, hopefully they wouldn't qualify well. I don't think they will. I think you never know with the rain, and it looks pretty torrential at the moment, so yeah, it's a tough one, but the Saubers certainly look bad, and I'm a bit worried that if they do randomly qualify well through the rain, then it makes this team look even worse. But the bottom line is, as strong as Verstappen looks, he is going to be starting from 11th backwards, and with the pace of how strong the McLarens are, we can't forget, in the dry yesterday, the McLaren's race pace was very competitive, arguably better than the Red Bulls. It's hard to say exactly at fuel loads, engine modes, etc., etc. But the bottom line is they're generally quite a good sort of yardstick to measure by, and the McLarens were very, very competitive. So with that, even if the Red Bulls are quicker, they had to be quite considerably quicker for Max to cut through and actually make the overtake on them. I don't know. It's tough, and I think because of that McLarens are likely, if everything goes according to plan, which it may well not. Again, I've just touched on the fact that it's wet qualifying. We could see, I don't know, a disaster and Norris crashes out and goes out in Q1 or whatever. But realistically, if everything goes the way it should go, the McLaren should win and they should come second. And having triple McLaren is also kind of appealing. So, sorry, I've once again digressed massively from the chat. Let me go back and see what's going on. Right, scroll down a little bit. Say hello, because some people have said hello and I haven't even got as far as reading some of the hellos. Racing is epic, hello. Could Yuki miss qualifying, says Ricardo. Yeah, I did touch on this in my final thoughts video yesterday. It's the potential for sure, especially if it's tipping it down with rain. Why would you send Yuki out? There's no point, you're not going to really slipstream. If you try and slipstream Ricardo, you're just going to spray him with water. Why risk the car? I potentially could see Yuki get -5, I don't know. I think maybe the teams might send him out just for a lap, just so they don't have to faff around applying for him to start the race. But at the same time, would they really want to faff around fixing up a broken car because he went out to set a lap and crashed it in the wet, which was completely pointless. So yeah, there is, in my mind, always that possibility that someone guaranteed to start at the back of the grid just doesn't qualify, particularly in a wet qualifying. So that's a risk. I don't know what you guys think about that. Will Yuki set a lap or not? I don't know. Let's see what else we got. Has a Norris Verstappen. Yeah, so Nasblod's put in there something which I've also looked at, and that is using the Haas constructor, because the Haas look quite good. Using the Haas constructor to get in Verstappen. You then have the kind of best of both worlds in terms of Norris and Verstappen, kind of the two best drivers more or less. You still got the McLaren points down here. You're quite reliant on the Haas doing what they need to do and pretty much should do around this track with their package, and hopefully get a little bit of a rise in money there, because you're going to need the money from the Haas here, because everyone else is going to, well, the Sargent and Zhou will probably drain you, and then the other three assets will get like 0.1 or 0.2, so you kind of need these Haas to boost your budget up a little bit and also prop up your points. But I think they're capable potentially, and this does open the door to like a triple DRS boost for those who are liking to take a little bit more of a risk. Put the triple DRS boost on Verstappen, for example, or if you're kind of playing a bit more safe, triple DRS boost on Lando and then double Verstappen. But I think if you're going to go for the triple, you got to go all in and just trust in Verstappen, right? So I have considered this, It's not completely off the menu for me. It's one of those high risk things, and I'm not normally a fantasy manager that takes big risks. I'm normally someone that plays it a bit more safe, takes a risk when it seems kind of appropriate, like an educated risk, rather than just like, let's go for it. But who knows? Maybe that's not the fun way to play. I don't know. But yeah, certainly an opportunity there. I think I'd probably personally wait on the 3 times until it's a bit more secure on a sprint race. But if you're really feeling bold, maybe now's the time. Right, let's see what else we got to chat about, because I've lost track again. I'm just going to read through. Yeah, so Drizzy's thinking about the fact that I've used my wildcard. Yeah, future races, if Piastri goes up by 1 million and Russell goes up 0.5, 0.3, you get locked out completely because of the sim team. Yeah, that's the very, very good point from Drizzy. Again, something that's been on my mind is if we don't get Piastri in sooner rather than later, we could be getting priced out of this sort of this region, because the way he's driving at the moment, he got unlucky in Silverstone. 23 points is not reflective of his performance, in my opinion, because of what happened in the McLaren's left him out high and dry for too long, and he lost so much time on that extra lap that he did. So I think he could have, arguably at least got the podium or even won the race in Silverstone. So he got unlucky there. He's scoring really well. The McLarens have been upgraded and are just looking super strong. Piastri looks very strong. He's sounding confident and looking confident in FP1, FP2 yesterday. And I know he likes this track. He said so on Twitter, right? He said, I love Spa or something like that. So, and then again, I think all the drivers love Spa. I don't know. But yeah, the point is that Piastri, if he keeps going up and we just don't have him in our team, it just becomes more and more difficult to wedge in. And in the same vein as what I was saying earlier when I was talking about the Verstappen on top of Ferrari and Red Bull earlier on in the season, if we don't commit to a triple McLaren build now, are we going to get kind of locked out of it? I mean, I don't think we'll get necessarily locked out of the Norris aspect or the constructor aspect, because they're crawling up 0.1 most weeks. But certainly not having Piastri is to the detriment of our budgets going forward, I think, because I think he's pretty much at least going to get 0.3, whereas all the people that are going in with Verstappen and Norris will just get that 0.1, maybe 0.2, which makes me think, if we're looking at budget, I think if I'm looking more about budget, and his budget certainly on my mind, then something like this is a very real consideration. I can't quite get to Magnussen, unfortunately. I'm 0.2 sure, otherwise I'll probably go with him as well. But I think Tsunoda, as long as he sets a lap in qualifying, looks like he's in a good position. So if I want to think much more about budget, then this is it. And also not just budget, but also my team going forward through Zandvoort as well, because it's not just about Spa, it's about future races as well, especially someone like me who doesn't have a wild card. So I could certainly see myself still going at this. I think I'm kind of a little bit off the Red Bulls now. I have talked about the Red Bulls. Anyone who's just joined, I have talked about the Red Bulls already. I could still go with the Red Bulls. Like I said, I could go Verstappen and then like a Tsunoda in there and just kind of just go with it. But I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest. So I think I'm more likely to go to these two routes. So I've either got to go Piastri plus Tsunoda, unless there's any last minute news about Tsunoda missing out on qualifying potentially, then I might just, I don't know who I'll go for then. I'll probably have to go for probably one of the Alpines, which is a little bit painful, to be honest. Like I said, I wish I could get to Magnussen, but I just can't. So maybe an Ocon. Maybe an Ocon. He's pretty good for overtakes this season. Had a bit of trouble with a water leak yesterday, so maybe hopefully that's been fixed and there won't be any trouble. There won't be any DNF in, but this could certainly be a good team in terms of building budget and looking to the future. The alternative is going triple McLaren. So I think I'm more or less ignoring the Sims at this point and going McLaren way. See what else is going on. How much have I missed? I missed a little bit here, that's for sure. I think Verstappen starting from P11 to P15 mean he'll recover to around P3, get 12 overtakes, 9 positions gained, 8 quality points, 15 finisher points, could be 40 plus points, but big DNF risk too. Yeah, racing is epic. I think there is definitely, I wouldn't say a big DNF risk, I'd say probably a larger than normal DNF risk for Verstappen starting in the meat grinder section of the grid. I think as long as he gets through lap 1 pretty much, though, he should be kind of fine, because then the rest of the overtakes he'll likely be doing will be down that Camel Straight, and they're fairly safe overtakes generally, and yeah, I think he'll generally be all right. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I do think Verstappen is a good pick, but I think in terms of balance of my team, potential budget for my team and going forward Zandvoort and beyond for my team, I'm a bit off the Red Bull train. What else have we got here? We got Eduardo, message retracted. Oh my god, what did he say? Don't know. Can't get to triple McLaren and Mercedes without taking -10. Is it worth it? From Lucy Claire. Well, I'm strongly considering that exact build, triple McLaren plus Mercedes. I won't be taking a -10 to do it. It kind of depends where you're coming from, Lucy. Depends what your team looks like at the moment as to if it looks average or bad, then you want to wedge it into this McLaren build, then maybe -10 is the way to go. It depends really what your team looks like at the moment. I don't know if you've mentioned that later on down the chat. I'll get there in about 20 minutes probably. What is it you have mag with that? I'm not sure what that means. McLaren Mercedes versus McLaren plus Mercedes versus McLaren plus Ferrari. I can do both with both Norris and Piastri and double Haas drivers. Wow, Andreas, you have a massive budget, right? You must do. Yeah, I mean, if you've got like a luxury kind of move, then maybe it's worth taking a punt on the Ferraris this weekend. But I wouldn't personally move away from Mercedes. I think going forward, I think I'd trust them a bit more on the Ferraris just in general. Yeah, I think I probably would stick with with McLaren and Mercedes for that. Oh yeah, Drizzy's even asked further. See, I'm getting there. Drizzy's asked the same question to Lucy Claire. What free assets are you dropping to get to that? We'll get there in a minute. We'll get there. Eduardo Highton, greetings from Italy. I'm thinking to use wildcard and go for Piastri and Russell from McLaren. Yeah, what's your opinion? Well, that's kind of what I've been touching on. That's exactly what I got on the screen at the moment, actually. Although I'd like probably more go with Tsunoda. In fact, I'm just on my other screen, just have a quick peek at Twitter to see if there's any news coming towards qualifying. All I can see is pictures of rain as usual. Not much going on there. No, nothing there. If anyone's got any news, by the way, in terms of like potentially Tsunoda sitting out of qualifying, if anyone hears that, if they're watching TV and they hear Tsunoda's sitting out, then please let me know. Right, let's scroll down a little bit. Okay, so Lucy Claire would be dropping Magnussen, Ricciardo. Wait, I'm really confused. When it's hard to read when you're not getting. I'm confused. I'm sorry, but without seeing it all in one message, it's kind of hard for me to decipher. I'm sorry. Right, let's move on. Best team with 115.3. Tools allows me to go McLaren red as constructors. 115.3. So that's roughly 3.7 million less than me. I mean, I guess with 3.7 million, it's half. I can't just say like what the best build is for that budget, because I still don't know what the best build is for my budget. It's just about your own opinion at the end of the day. If the Sims are saying that the Red Bull McLarens are the best, then I guess there's your answer. But you can't just rely on the Sims. It's about what you think yourself, your gut feeling, what you want to do going forward, because the Sims don't look at what's going on the next race. It just looks purely at who's going to get the most points now, and we as humans can look further ahead than that. So I'm thinking, do you want to be kind of tied into the Red Bull constructor in Zandvoort? I mean, maybe Max's home race, maybe it's another good opportunity, but I do think the McLarens will be particularly strong around there. So maybe we should just get in early and just triple on McLaren now. It's tough. I think personally I'm kind of leaning towards what's on screen at the moment versus triple McLaren. The triple McLaren downside is obviously the C-tier drivers are awful. Instead of Tsunoda and Hülkenberg, I'll end up with the two Saubers, which is pretty massive downgrade. However, I upgrade Russell into Norris. However, I think obviously that Norris will score more than Russell this week, but Russell's got that budget game potential, slight edge. But it's literally like, when I say an edge, it's probably more likely like a 0.1 or 0.2 more. So it's not that big a deal. The Mercedes don't look fantastic. It kind of depends on what I want. Do I want to look more towards budget and hope that Tsunoda and Hülkenberg can net me $1 million between them? Or am I happy to take a 0.1 loss with the likes of the double Sauber in there, 0.1, 0.2, and go with Lando Norris? This team obviously offers me a lot more balance, whereas the triple McLaren team kind of sets up for going forward with Norris. But I think I could potentially go with this build with all the budget potential. And I say budget potential, it's not an amazing budget potential, but it's better than going with double Sauber Sargent. Having Tsunoda Hülkenberg is a lot better than double Sauber, and then maybe that will enable me to freely move up towards moving George to Lando for Zandvoort. However, I think I'd probably end up having to do a -10 to do that. So maybe whilst I don't have to do a -10, I can just get in triple McLaren. This game is exhausting, isn't it? Being a fantasy manager is stressful and exhausting. The thoughts just don't stop. I actually had a terrible night's sleep last night. I woke up and my mind was whirring. I actually had like a bad dream, and it wasn't F1 fantasy related or anything, or F1 related, but I just woke up and then my brain was like, okay, it's go time. Who's going to go on my team? And I'm just like lying in bed at like 3 a.m. just like, just let me go back to sleep. But yeah. Right, let's have a look at the chat. Have a quick look at the time as well. We've got roughly half an hour or so, just over half an hour. Let's see what's going on. Greetings from IKEA. Are you literally in IKEA? In Sweden. Nice, Adam. Hello, Mike. Piastri, Tsunoda. Is this your team? I'm guessing. Piastri, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Hulk, Gasly, Red Bull, McLaren. So your only real big driver is Piastri, and save one transfer for Zanvor. What do you think? I changed Norris for Zhou for Piastri and Norris and Zhou for Piastri and Tsunoda. Well, yeah, that's, I guess, pretty much what I'm doing here. Although, what's your budget? You seem to have like, but I suppose you've got the Red Bull constructor. That's where it's going. So you're kind of looking at something more like that. And who was the other guy you had in there? Gasly? I don't think this is the exact bill, but it's more or less what you're talking about. Something like this, roughly, I think. Right? Magnussen. I guess Magnussen gets in there. I'm 0.1 short of affording it, but I'm assuming Magnussen's in there and your team looks kind of like that. Actually looks pretty strong, to be honest. It looks very nicely balanced in terms of the potential C-tier price gainers. It avoids, all the Saubers and all that chaff. Piastri, potential race winner again, who knows? And you catch the Verstappen points as much as you can there. Hope Perez has a good race. I like it a lot, to be honest. I like it a lot. I'm not going down that route, but yeah, I do kind of like that, Mike. What else we got? Budget 125 million, Andreas. Yeah, I got the feeling, I got that impression you had a lot of money in your team. Anyone else jealous of 125 million? Yikes. Do we know if it's supposed to rain during the race? Fallen Hero 331. My understanding is it should be dry for the race. I haven't looked at the weather report since yesterday, but all week it's been saying it'll be dry on Sunday, so I'm assuming it hasn't changed, but who knows. Lucy Claire's in Australia and it's nearly midnight. Oh, wow. Hope you have a good sleep, or if you're going to stay up for the qualifying. I suppose you're going to stay up for the qualifying, right? If you stayed up this late, you're definitely staying up until like 1 a.m. or whatever it is, so... Yeah, thanks for joining so late. Drizzy D, I finally caught up with this whole Lucy Claire dilemma. What's Drizzy's had to say? Claire, I think Ricciardo isn't needed this weekend. Yeah, but if she's in Australia, clearly Ricciardo's needed. And Piastri for that matter. Anyway, general, I think Mercedes is more important than V-Carb for banking points. Who are your budget drivers? Who will your budget drivers after dropping those three? Yeah, and again, I feel like I haven't got the complete story here with your team, Lucy Claire, so I apologise, I can't give a succinct answer to that. Right, I've nearly made up to the bottom of the chat, and then if no one else adds to the chat, I might actually be able to discuss a bit more about my own thoughts on my own team, so which I need to get on with because the deadline's in half an hour. Anyway, I'm going to have a quick look. Brink Remo, if you had both McLarens, who would you captain? Is in 2 times DRS. If I go with the triple McLaren, I think I'd still go with Lando. I think he's still got good driver day potential. I don't think people are fed up with it, and I don't think he would have lost too much popularity of what happened out in Hungary. I think he's still got a big fan base. Yeah, I think Lando in a vacuum is still just a slightly better driver than what Piastri is currently. I think Piastri is an amazing driver, but I think the same for Norris basically, and I think Norris just edges it just a tiny bit. So if I do go triple McLaren, I will likely be given the 2 times to Lando. Right, what else we got here? Now I said if I could just get to the bottom of this chat, and then everyone's putting loads of messages. That's fine. Currently seeing Russell. Got 1 million players since number one. So Russell, Norris, Sargent, Joe, Bottas, McLaren, and Mercedes. Oh, so that's pretty much the team that I'm kind of moving into. Oh no, wait. Russell and Norris. Yeah, it is pretty much the team that I've actually got, isn't it? I'm losing track here. So Joe, Bottas, McLaren, Mercedes, Sargent. Oh yeah. So apart from Hulkenberg, Bottas. So Tristan, you've basically got the exact same team as me. No wildcard, just like me as well. 1 million to play with. I've got 0.9. We have literally like the same team pretty much. So yeah, listen closely for the next 29 minutes where I lock in my team, and that's kind of my answer to you, I guess, when I get there. I'm going to have a little bit more of the chat, and then I'm going to have a bit more of a think about my own team, and I'll try and voice my thoughts as I'm going through that process for you, so you can kind of keep up with what I'm trying to think, I guess. Yeah, Caesar Khan again, sort of reiterating what I touched on earlier. Yes, the Red Bulls look good now, but going forward, are we going to want them for Zandvoort and beyond? Not convinced. And Perez, we don't know what Red Bull are going to look like after the summer break as well. Is Perez even going to be in there? Who's going to replace him? If anyone's going to replace him, or if he's going to carry on. If he carries on, is that to the detriment of Red Bull? Probably. If he gets swapped out, is that new person going to come in and be up to speed straight away? I don't know. It's tough to know where Red Bull are. And so going in with them this week means you're sat with them coming out of the summer break. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing at the moment. The truth is, we just don't know. And so avoiding them entirely might be a good thing. What else we got? So does Max outscore Lando by 10 points, therefore covering a hit? This is the question I'm trying to figure out. According to the Sims, he does. Excuse me, let me just have a sip of water because I'm doing so much talking. According to the Sims, Verstappen does outscore him. You can see here, hopefully you can see that on your screen. If I scroll down just a tad, you see that? More or less there, I think so. So you can see on the right hand side here, Verstappen is predicted to score 39.7 points, whereas Norris is 29.8. So that is almost exactly the 10-point hit, which is probably why the Sims are saying like this -10 is worth it entirely, because Verstappen is going to get more than 10 points like above Norris. So taking a hit is almost like a nothing this week if you're making that swap. According to the Sims, this isn't necessarily gospel. Right, last couple of minutes and I'm going to head into the zone and see what I can do with my team. Chris says he's set up for Zandvoort, triple McLaren, Haas, Sonoda, Albon. Oh, yeah, so you've got, I don't know what constructors you've got, Chris, but that sounds like a nice little build there. Okay, thanks for trying to keep up. I think my brain might be just about done for tonight. Keen for qualifying and better. Don't blame you at all. My current team is horrible. Please help. I mean, what am I supposed to do with that? I don't know where I'm going with that, but let's flick it back here for a second. My last couple of things. McLaren plus Ferrari, my budget 160.9. I feel so poor. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think the Ferraris are fine if you want them, but if you're sat with McLaren Mercedes and you're thinking about going McLaren Ferrari, I don't think it's too much different. If you've got like a free transfer just to kind of use, then maybe go for it, because I think they're similarly priced, aren't they? Yeah, like 0.5 difference. So if you've got that free transfer and you've got 0.5 in the bank that you want to use, then now might be a good time to do it. I do think Mercedes will be a bit stronger. Mercedes always come stronger through the week. Well, not always. In general, I'd say Mercedes do get a bit stronger. Sometimes they go the opposite way, to be fair. Sometimes they look amazing on Friday and then they tail off and kind of peter out. But they've started off bad, so I'm hoping they're just going to go in an upwards trajectory this weekend. Excuse me. Right. When does this stream end? Asked Dionysus. So hopefully it will end as soon as qualifying begins, so in about 25 minutes. I'll lock in my team as soon as I'm comfortable to lock in my team, maybe in the next 15 minutes or so. And then I'll wrap up with answering any more last minute questions from you guys, and then we can all go watch some quali. Right, lots of questions about Ferrari here, actually. Lots of people asking about Ferrari, and for me personally, they're just kind of a bit on par with Mercedes, and unless I had, like I say, I got these luxury transfers or I'm on the wild card or whatever, then I'm kind of off the Ferraris. I think they are quite well suited to this track, and I think they should do fine, and they were decent around Hungary. I don't know, maybe I'm missing a trick with the Ferraris, but I think I'm more concentrating on who to get at the top end here with, in terms of like the McLarens versus Red Bulls, more so. Like Mercedes versus Ferrari for me are kind of like a second tier dilemma. My main dilemma is McLaren versus Red Bull more than anything. Yeah. Dionysus said Ferrari will be stronger this week and they'll outscore Mercedes. Yeah, I mean it's quite possible, but I still feel like Mercedes is still quite solid. So anyway, I'm going to spend a couple of minutes just kind of thinking out loud about where I'm going with my team, and then I can catch up again, hopefully, with the chat in a few minutes. So I'm just going to have a think. This is where I'm at at the moment, 0.9 in the bank. I do think that budget building is important. I obviously think we need to balance that carefully in terms of points gain. And the trouble with trying to build budget is it can always backfire as well. Things don't go according to plan. Someone randomly DNFs, or someone just doesn't perform as well as you think they will, and they just drop 0.2 instead of gaining that 500,000. You know, you go in with a optimal bunch of C tiers and you think this looks great for budget, and then it just peters out and you end up not getting that budget, and you end up getting no budget and no points. So I do think budget building is certainly important, but it needs to be very much tied closely to building those points. Like I said, I think I'm kind of settled on one or two builds, and I think it kind of is between Piastri plus Tsunoda. Although I will check Twitter again in a minute actually, to see if there's any more news, or if anyone in the chat can tell me if there's any more news about Tsunoda, whether he looks like he's actually gone out. You know, I don't know if RB will actually say anything, or he just will hide in the garage and we won't know until after the deadline, which will be annoying. I think it's still probably worth taking a punt on. Otherwise, I'll probably go with Ocon. But yeah, this is basically one team I'm looking at. The alternative is, I suppose the alternative I could do, one other alternative is just dropping Hulkenberg and getting Tsunoda in that way. It kind of leaves me with these two kind of rubbish C tier assets here, but hopefully they'll both qualify really far back anyway, and then maybe they'll be good in the race. This maximizes my budget. Still keeps Lando Norris, who's, you know, quite a good chance of winning the race. If the Mercedes do turn good, this also works out quite well in terms of budget and points. It gives me a bit of coverage for a good C tier driver. It also opens up 3 transfers going into Silverstone, which is quite nice. Silverstone, oh my god, where's my brain at? Zandvoort. So yeah, I could just do like one swap, or I could just do no swaps as well. I could just like leave Hulkenberg in there if I can't be bothered to worry about whether Tsunoda's going to partake in qualifying or not. I could just do 0 transfers and just literally leave my team as it is. And so often in fantasy that seems to be the right thing to do as well. I feel like quite often myself and many other people, all of us I think, are eager to make transfers, and sometimes it's just better to do nothing. But I don't know. Well, let's have a look at the other option. I'm thinking of the other option would be going in with the triple McLaren, and then I'd have to go with the trash C tier assets. Why would I be happy to go into the deadline with a team like this? And when is the deadline? 20 odd minutes, about 21 minutes. Would I be happy to confirm this as my team for the rest of the weekend? I kind of would. The really only bad thing is the C tiers, and the fact that maybe they randomly do well in qualifying and therefore lose points. But the worst they can lose is like 0.2, right? The C tiers basically gain 0.5, lose 0.1, or lose 0.2, if I'm correct. That's right, I think. So worst case scenario, I lose 0.6 if they all drop 0.2, right? I mean, worst case scenario, they drop 0.6 and they DNF, whatever. That is horrendous, but that could happen to anyone. And best case scenario, maybe something random happens. Maybe something I don't know. Maybe they spike some random points. Maybe Zhou Guanyu can relive his overtake glory days of last year. Maybe one or two of them can just randomly gain 0.5. And this kind of arcs back to where I was at earlier on in the stream and earlier on in the season, when we had people, myself included, with the opportunity of going Verstappen on top of the constructors Red Bull and Ferrari, and I personally was more focused on like building budget, getting better C tier assets in, and you know, like I say, if the budget doesn't pay off and then the points also don't pay off, you're just missing out. So maybe just play it safe, just go hard on the McLarens, forget about the C tiers, pretend they just don't exist, hope they don't DNF, and just be kind of locked with this. But then that is kind of the main issue going Zandvoort and beyond. I would be kind of locked with this unless I get kind of fortunate with the likes of Zhou, Bottas or Sargent gaining value. I can't really move them up anytime soon. The only way, I don't know. The only way I can really do that is to literally, I don't know. I can't, because there's too many transfers to get Piastri back in and also drop Norris. Unless, well, I suppose, because I want to keep Norris, don't I? Well, this is tough. It's tough. So if I just went back to the original team, I guess. Tsunoda. So this is, I guess, the more balanced, but probably less points for this weekend. But then I'm thinking going into Zandvoort, I probably want triple McLaren again anyway. So I could just sit on the triple McLaren build for the rest of the season, potentially. As I just said, maybe not making transfers is sometimes a good thing, and maybe just sitting on the triple McLaren. But then I will probably be leaking team value, leaking a few points, maybe potentially as well by having the double Sauber, double Williams. That's kind of where I'm at the moment. That's kind of where I'm at the moment. I don't know what you guys think about that. If you were me, is it kind of I have kind of gone off the Red Bulls. I think they'll be fine, but I don't want to just break my team up to put the Red Bulls in, so I'm just going to ignore them and hope for the best, basically. I think going forward, my team looks more McLaren heavy. I think Mercedes have still got a part to play. I think just because of one bad Friday, they've been on an upwards trajectory over the last few races. They've been winning a couple of races. They're up and about there. They're getting podiums. I don't think one bad Friday means abandon ship. I don't think that's what it means. And I think having a good balance here could be a good way forward. So I'm going to jump back to the chat. How much time we got left? About 18 minutes. I'm going to have another quick look at the chat, and then I'm going to try and lock in my team to see what the chat thinks about those thoughts that I've just spilled out. Right, let's have a think. Let's have a look. Let's have a read. Well, how much have I lost in terms of this? Okay, not too bad. Not too bad. So let's have a look. The Alpines, are they a good option in this race? They are. I think they are, with the exception that their reliability is questionable. The moment Q1 starts, the rain starts. It's official. Yeah, it's often how it works, isn't it? I want to stay away from Ferrari because of their pace. Mercedes has better race pace, so likely Ferrari will take the potentially. What do you think of Team 1? 2 times on Piastri, Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, Gasly, McLaren has team. Or Team 2, Norris, Tsunoda, oh my god, or Team 3, Max, Piastri. Yeah, there's quite a lot of love from Ed Lubber for the Haas team there, and I think that is quite a bold way to go. And it does enable you to get in Verstappen with relative ease, and the Haas do look pretty decent, so it could certainly pay off this weekend. I don't think I'm going down that route. I'm too cowardly to go down the Haas constructor route. As I've just touched on, I think Mercedes are still a fine hold for me. I don't want to change things around too much, so Yugon has. Oh yeah, I'd probably go Team 2 in that regards then. Norris 2 times, sat on top of Mercedes and McLaren. And then your budget drivers in there, Ed, look good for Team 2. That's probably where I'd lean personally. Right, where's the chat at now? Worst case scenario, C-tier drivers, DNF. Yeah, that's pretty much it. V-Carb or Haas? If you're talking about the constructor, I would definitely be looking at the Haas's. V-Carb are tempting because Tsunoda starts at the back. You get his points from starting at the back, but I think the Haas's are pretty well suited. The race pace looks a lot better than the RBs. The RBs look kind of off it. So, where else are we at? Will Verstappen gaining extra points because of the grid penalty? Would it be worth it? But yeah, so JT03 is asking about the free times. I did talk about that earlier. I said it's definitely an option. It's only an option for me personally if I was more of a gambler, more of a risk taker. I think I'd rather put the free times on a more safe, secure kind of sprint weekend. But I can definitely see the appeal of doing like 3 times Verstappen, 2 times Norris this weekend. So if you want to go for it, if you want to risk it, then it could prove like very bountiful. I don't know. And to be honest, this is kind of what we were looking at last year as well. We're talking quite a lot about. Like, I didn't put the 3 times on Verstappen in Austria last year because I was holding out for a Max Verstappen grid penalty. But the difference is Red Bulls aren't as dominant this season, and the fact that I think Verstappen will fight his way back to like P4-5. I'm not sure he's going to get on the podium. I don't know. I might be a little bit harsh on him. He may well get on the podium. The Red Bulls do look quite good here, I have to say. So I don't know. But I personally am avoiding going down the 3 times route. I'd save it for a sprint race. But if you're feeling risque, then go for it. Time check here. Time check. Where are we at? Oh, 14 minutes. Okay, I need to seriously consider locking in. I'm going to have a last couple of minutes look at the chat, and then I'm going to like focus in and actually lock in my team. So, AB videos. Who are you putting the 2 times on? It depends. It depends if I go this build or if the triple McLaren build. If I go triple McLaren, I'll put the 2 times on Lando. If I'm going on this build, I'll put the 2 times on Piastri. Not thinking of using any chips. I had thought about using the autopilot, but I think that Piastri, if I went with a team like this, for example, I think Piastri is strong enough above like the likes of George Russell that it's just an easy decision. Obviously, it covers off any like DNFs or whatever, but I think it's probably better off to autopilot further down the season when there's more unreliability, unknowns, and that sort of thing. JT03, you're going for the 3 times. Good luck. If you're going for it, that's really ballsy, and I wish you the best of luck for it. 3 times McLaren, 3 times has Tsunoda too much troll. I think it could be a great budget raiser. Yeah, so Cyclone says 3 times McLaren and 3 Hazes. That okay? Yeah, it could certainly work. Could certainly work in terms of building budget. I'm still kind of trusting Mercedes, but if you're going to trust the Hazes at any weekend, at any time soon, then I think that maybe this is the weekend for them. They look pretty good. It's a track that suits them, I think. So, yeah. Yeah, some more people asking about 3 times McLaren, 3 times Hazard. Am I going to have to reevaluate everything, go for the Hazards after all this? I've only got 2 moves though, so what can I do with it again? I can't upgrade a Joe 21. I'd have to upgrade like a Hulkenberg. That gets me 23, and I'm short of Piastri, unfortunately. If I could just get on Piastri there, then I'd be highly tempted to go with this build, to be honest. It's a budget builder and also gets you in on the McLaren boys. But for me, the only other option really in this region is Perez. I don't really want to go down that road, or Carlos Sainz, and also not overly enthusiastic about going down that road. So, yeah, I think I'm pretty much ready to try and lock in. Let's have one last look at the chat. Dionysus, I'm going to go for 3 times McLaren and God help us all. Yeah. How would you rank Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, and Gasly? As long as Tsunoda partakes in qualifying, he's number 1. And then I'd say Hulkenberg, and then I'd say Gasly. For this race in particular. Right. I need to have a lock in my team because we've got 12 minutes here. Right. Time to think. What avenue do I want to go down? Okay. So if I go down this more balanced route, it means I drop Lando. I have no Red Bull coverage. I'm relying on Tsunoda doing something from the back and hopefully partaking in qualifying. That reminds me, I didn't look at Twitter for rain updates and stuff. Yeah, the rain has stopped according to Twitter. The rain has stopped. Interesting. Oh, I see some other people locking in their teams, or I see some people going Red Bull on my Twitter. Or X, you know what it is, you know what I mean. Yeah, I can't see anything else recently about... sorry, my brain's completely blank. I can't see anything else about the rain and that. So if it's stopped raining, then maybe that stands a better chance for Tsunoda coming out and setting a qualifying lap. As long as he sets a qualifying lap, Tsunoda's a great asset this week. Bottom line is he is just a great asset. As long as he doesn't start off with -5 by not setting a qualifying lap, we're all good. If I go with this team, my God, if he doesn't set a lap, I'm going to be fuming. Right, 10 minutes left. 10 minutes left. It's time for decision. If I go triple McLaren, that's kind of where I want to be in terms of at least the next couple of races. I think McLaren's going to be exceptional around Zandvoort. So why not try and maximise my points over the next 2? I maximise my points, but I don't maximise budget by any stretch of the imagination. If I go, it's basically, guys, I'm down to this versus triple McLaren. So this versus, where are we? Too much faffing around now. Lando Norris, and then the 2 Saubers are all that's left. So it's the other build I just showed versus this. This looks bad for building budget. It looks bad for building budget, and I've been saying for weeks that building budget is important. Is it about time I started listening to myself and looked towards the budget, or do I go more towards the old builds where, you know, like I've said it already? Do I go the Verstappen over Red Bull, Ferrari from earlier on in the season and just ignore the budgets being bad options and just go with this? It's highly tempting, and maybe I spike. Maybe I get lucky. Maybe Bottas and Zhou and Sargent just go up 0.5. Who knows? It's possible. Obviously, there's more chance of the likes of Tsunoda, Hulkenberg getting those 0.5 rises. And the difference is, what I'm boiling it down to here is basically Lando Norris on the 2 times plus double Sauber versus Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, and Russell with Piastri 2 times. That's kind of what it boils down to. I'm not muted, I'm just thinking. Let's have a quick look at the chat to help me. Henry says between the same 2 teams, yeah. Norris, Piastri, Russell has... Piastri 2 times of Russell, maybe. Yeah, Chris, that's the other option. It's this versus the more budget kind of friendly. I think one way or another, Piastri's coming in. I think he's an exceptional asset. If I'm not dabbling in the Red Bulls, which I'm committed to right now, Piastri is an exceptional asset and he's coming in. Trouble is, does he come in over Norris or alongside Norris? I think this has got good points potential. Like Tsunoda, start at the back. As long as he qualifies, he's set for potentially 10 points or so, and that could be quite easily a 0.5 rise, maybe even more than 10, 15 points maybe. Hulkenberg, he could quite easily get 10, 15 points. Sargent, as long as he doesn't DNF, he's probably going to drop 0.1, whatever. Russell, he's probably on for a 20 pointer at best, which isn't too exciting, but it gets a little bit 0.3 rise. Let me just have one quick look. I'm running out of time. 7 minutes. Jeez, I'm going to run out of time, aren't I? Let me just have one quick look at this and see how much budget I'm actually using for this. 0.7 in the bank. So if I want to get back to this for Zandvoort, I need to make sure I don't lose out on 0.7. Which, with the other build, with Norris and the 2 C-tier drivers, I think the odds are in my favour to be able to gain that 0.5, keep that 0.7 buffer and get on the triple McLaren. But then if I want triple McLaren for Zandvoort, why am I not just doing it now? Maybe that's because maybe I'm putting too much weight on Tsunoda. Ooh, this is really hard. And then dropping Norris feels bad as well, I think. Dropping Norris to get basically, oh, this looks ugly. Let's change them around. Dropping Norris to basically get better C-tiers. That's what I'm looking at. It feels a bit bad. It sounds a bit bad. So maybe I should just go triple McLaren. But then am I just kind of locked into this double Sauber Sargent? Ah, God, I've got 6 minutes. This is hard. Peter says, feeling the Piastri win. Yeah, can you swap George and Nico to get in Lando? Let me just flick it back for a second. Can you swap George and Nico to get Lando? I've already got Lando in. That's the thing. My team already has Lando in it. I can't do a straight swap for Russell to Piastri, otherwise that make life easy. The only other real option is dropping the constructor. I'm not doing that. I can't drop these guys any lower, so it has to be Hulkenberg that drops to bring in Piastri, and then the only way Hulkenberg can drop to is Bottas. Do I try and spike? Just forget about budget. Oh, but I've been thinking about budget so much. But I think triple. Maybe I don't care about budget if I've got triple McLaren, and there's the risk that I lose the triple McLaren if it goes a bit pear shaped going into Zandvoort. I could just have triple McLaren here, forget about things and pretty much, and sit on this for Zandvoort and kind of be happy about it as well. And what comes after Zandvoort? Have a quick look. Monza, where maybe triple McLaren isn't going to be so great. And then Azerbaijan as well. Interesting, Singapore. God, I'm literally going to run out of time. Right, it's the triple McLaren or the Piastri Tsunoda. One last quick look at Twitter in case any rain updates. If anyone has heard of any rain updates, please let me know. 4 minutes. I see a lot of people going to Red Bull. This makes me feel like an outlier here. A lot of people. Dropping Lando feels bad, doesn't it? This is better for budget team. You'll be able to go. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Henry. That's last minute thoughts are. It feels bad to drop Lando, but I think these C tier assets have got high potential. I'm gonna kick myself so hard if the triple McLaren is the way to go. I'm gonna kick myself so hard. But this team, if I go this team, this does kind of commit to my train of thought that I've had for weeks on end now. That budget is important. Balance is important, and the triple McLaren build just feels very slightly unbalanced to me. If I had more budget and I could get triple McLaren with the likes of Tsunoda and Hulkenberg, then yes, but I think we're going down this road. Oh god, I'm saying no to triple McLaren. Just feels stupid. But I think I've got to do it. I've got to commit because I've got like 2 minutes left, and if the website crashes, I'll cry. Can I easily get to triple McLaren? I can't easily get there though, can I? Jeez, this is hard. But got a couple of minutes. Yeah, I think okay, I'm gonna go with this on the basis that for several weeks, or pretty much all season, but particularly several weeks, this is actually almost exactly the team I wildcarded into in Silverstone. I had the conviction then to drop Lando and go with this, and I think I need to stay true to my kind of values over the last few weeks. I've been strongly thinking about this all week. I think I'm going to go for it. Double DRS boost on Oscar. So switch now Zhou and Norris to Piastri and Tsunoda. Piastri becomes the big boss. 2 transfers, no chips. I think I'm going to go for it. Feels bad. It feels bad when I could have triple McLaren, but we're going in. We're going in. There we go. We've made the change. I think this team stays true to, like I say, my values of balance. I still think the Mercedes are decent, and I don't want to just chop them off. And this enables me to get 2 highly priced C-tier assets over the likes of Sauber. I think the Saubers are still kind of okay because they're probably starting towards the back, but yeah, I think I'm happy, and I've found that moment of calm that I've been talking about over recent videos, that I'm committed now. Well, I'm definitely committed because I've confirmed it, but yeah, I'm in. That's my team. 0.7 in the bank. I think this has got high potential for building budget. I think it's got high potential for a good amount of points as well. It obviously drops Lando, which is a bit painful, but I can bring Lando back with relative ease because he's only going to go up like 0.1, 0.2 or whatever. Or if he has a terrible race, he's going to drop 0.7 and makes it a lot easier. So yeah, there we have it. I've finally locked in. I'm happy with my decision because it stays true to kind of where I've been at the last couple of weeks. And in Oscar, we trust. And in Mercedes, we continue to trust. Tsunoda, please set a qualifying lap. Please, for the love of God, just go out there, set a qualifying lap that's not like 3 minutes. And I will love you forever as long as you can like start P20 after setting a qualifying lap. Right, we're there. We made it. I'm locked in. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm just going to finish off the stream here. We've got 1 minute left, and then I'm going straight to watch some qualifying. So, yeah. Risk of rain, 80%. Yikes. Yikes. Charles Smith, good job, Tom. Thank you. I hope it's a good job. We'll find out soon enough, I suppose. Risk of rain for the session, yeah, 80%. Yikes. Okay, well, there we go. We're locked in. Thank you ever so much. We've had roughly 100 or so people in here kind of consistently over the last hour, which is fantastic. Thank you very much for joining. If you haven't already, please hit the like. And if you're not already subscribed, please do. And also, have a great summer break. I'll still be active a little bit over this weekend on Twitter. You can come and follow me at PopPatmanF1 over on Twitter /X. And yeah, I'll post my final score and everything in after the race on Sunday. So I hope everyone has a smashing weekend and a smashing summer break. Almost called it a winter break then. It feels like winter break sometimes when you're in England. You have so much rain, but it's actually quite nice and sunny today. So yeah, hope everyone has a lovely summer break. And yeah, I'll catch you soon, maybe for some interviewing of other content creators. I've already had someone express interest, so that's kind of cool. So yeah, I think the teams are just locked because, yep, qualifying is now active on here. So I'm locked in. Come on, boys. Tsunoda, set that lap. Piastri win the race. Come on. Good luck, everybody. Thanks very much for joining me. And yeah, I'll see you again after, well, in the next couple of weeks or whatever, depending on what's going on. So thank you very much. I'm going to end the stream there. Thank you and enjoy qualifying. See you soon. Bye for now.